Hi everyone, this is the Queen Bee coming at you, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of bead embroidery for us. Here's my beading needle and some size D Nymo. It's a size, I think a 10 needle, and that's the little bit of thread that was left on that spool. And my beads are these size 15, I think they're called transparent rosaline. They are Toho. These are Toho treasures in a very light pink with like a salon finish on them. So they're verging on white. Here's my cute little cabochon that I'll be working with. It's backed onto a piece of an old leather jacket that's brutally out of style, so that's what you can use your leather coats for. So I've tied a knot in the end of my thread and I'm going down through the front. Why, you ask? Well, because this way I can bury the tail and you'll never ever see it, and you'll never find the knot because it's on the front side where it will be buried. So now I'm just doing my best to get my needle up right close to that knot without piercing through the same hole. Here we go. So I'm going to start with my size 11 Toho treasures. And we're going to lay down our first round here. This is going to be in preparation for peyote stitch. So there's 2 beads on my needle. There's some glare from the window, so I wasn't sure if you could actually tell that there were 2 beads on there or not. And the trick with this stitch is to put the beads down and then put your needle down right in front of them. Tightly, but not too tightly, because then they won't lay flat. So we want them to lay flat. And then what you're gonna come blah 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 blah. Then what you're going to do is come up next to the cab that you're working with and kind of in between both beads. And don't worry, you will see a slideshow of this, so it'll make a little more sense. And then you go through the last bead that you threaded. And you're going to do that all the way around. Now, why am I picking up 2 beads instead of some other number? In this instance, we're going to be switching over to peyote stitch when we get this base round put on. So we need the number to be an even number. A lot of people, when doing this beaded backstitch, like to do they add like 3 beads, and that's totally fine if you're not worried about your bead count. Oh, guess who showed up? Sophia. Hello, Sophia. She's always got to come and visit. Anyway, you need the number to be divisible by 2 in this case, so I'm adding 2. Plus, it makes your beadwork a lot more stable the fewer beads you add at one time. There we go. So I've got 4 now. And I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around. And Here comes the slideshow. All right, beaded, back, stitch, because that's basically what this is. When you know beaded back stitch, that's like the fundamental stitch for any kind of bead embroidery. So just so you're aware. Okay, so I've got 2 beads on my needle. And I've slid them down, and I'm gonna put my needle right in front, but straight down. And I want my beads to lay flat, just like that. Not puckered up in like a curve or anything. And I put my needle up between the beads and the cab. And I'm gonna go through my last bead that I just added. And that's it. It's really that easy. Just like that. And then because this is an even number of beads, when I get to the end, well, I'm not quite there yet, but when I get to the end, you'll see I can step up and we can start doing regular peyote. So I'm hiding that thread tail there underneath the cab. The cab is stuck down with E6000 glue. But I didn't get it all the way to the very edge just because it's hard to stitch through. Okay, so now I've gone all the way around, and what I'm going to do to stabilize things even more is I'm going to run my needle through all of the beads again. So just straight on through, and see how much cleaner that looks. It looks a lot more polished, just like that. And that's just from running your needle through one more time with a round of thread. And now we can carry on with peyote, just like that. You've seen me do that before, so I won't dwell on it too much. But, you know, add a bead, skip a bead, add a bead, skip a bead. And because we added 2 beads at a time, we know it's even. So I can step up like I'm doing right now at the end of the round. And I believe I added I think 5 rounds. There will be 5 rounds, I think, of the 11s, and then 1 round of 15s, although I can't remember. I just did it until it looked right, and then, you know, so the cab was sealed up in there and it's not going to slip out, because we don't want that. So there is the bezel or bezel, and I'm just weaving my thread down through the previous weave peyote stitches so that I can get to the bottom, or the back, or the bottom. I don't know how to say. Depends how you think of it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fabric scissors here, and I'm going to trim around and trim off this excess leather. Now, to do this, you have to be careful, because obviously you don't want to cut any of the stitching that you did through the leather, because then your entire piece will, well, fall apart. So you don't want to do that. So I'm using my really nice sharp embroidery scissors. So that's why it cuts through the leather so easy. So I do one cut like that, and then I kind of do a closer cut with my scissors on an angle, like so. So I can get closer to the stitches and kind of hide the black leather from the front a little bit, kind of taper it in so that you don't see it. And there will be a round of beads that kind of conceals this stitching line that you see. Normally I'd use black, Nymo or Fireline that's smoke colored, but I didn't have any on hand because, as you know, I'm moving, so I use what I can find at this point. But anyway, yeah, I'm just going around, getting as close as I can without ruining anything. Just check on the front, see what that looks like. And once I can no longer see it from the front and it's a nice kind of clean shape, then I'm satisfied. But it takes some time. It's good to take your time doing this. Don't try taking everything off in one whack because it's too risky. There we go. Boom. We're done. So now I'm just starting to get ready here for the next part. Adding edging. Alright, so I'm going to use neon strawberry beads. They are also, I think they're Miyuki's, actually, but they're a size 8 anyway. And they're kind of a clear bead that's lined with this neon pink. It's awesome. I love those neon beads. They're so great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm coming out of one of those down beads, the very bottom ones, and I'm picking up 1/8, sliding it down, and then I'm going to grab just a little bite of the leather, just a bit, not a lot. That's why when you do this kind of embroidery, you have to be sure to not use a woven fabric. You need a non-woven, like leather or something like that, or Peltex or something non-woven, so you can get through it like this and it won't fray. Anyway, yeah, you take a bite like so and then go through the 8, and that's how you're gonna add, like, basically an extension, like a band of color or beads around your cab. It's a nice little detail. It's a little different than, you know, a regular kind of picot thing or a, I don't know. It's just a little something different. So there's 2, and I'll show you in slide format what's going on, in case that was hard to catch. So I've added a few at this point. So I've got one needle on my bead I've got one bead on my needle, and I'm going through the leather kind of directly next to the previous bead that I added, and I pull, and my current bead goes down right next to the other ones, and then I'm gonna go up like that through the bead I just added. And that's basically all there is to it. It's really simple. And there it is. And you just keep doing that until you are all the way done. There's another view of it. It's kind of cool because it hides that black line that you see on the bottom there from the leather. It kind of conceals that a bit. And oh, I've come to the end of my thread, but my round isn't done, so I'm putting my needle through the beads, the 11 treasures, and I'm gonna bury it by going back and forth and kind of weaving my way through, and that will hold it very securely. You have to make sure to go over yourself back and forth a couple of times, and then you're good to go. To add another length, you don't need to add any extra bulk with knots or anything. So I'm gonna rethread my needle with what was left on the spool. I ended up using it all up. And you do the same thing. You leave yourself a tail and you weave back and forth and go down to the point in your weave where you need to be. And you carry on with life until you're done. Like this. And then, just like the first round of beads we added, go through them one more time so that they're connected and they're stable. And now we can move on to the next part of this bezel. So it kind of looks a little more finished, I guess. So what I'm gonna do is I'm coming out of one of those down beads, and I'm gonna add some white Toho treasures in between the down beads. You'll see there's a natural kind of, it'll set there naturally just because there's a space in that kind of toothy edge that the peyote gives you. So you're not just kind of sitting beads on top of beads. It'll actually sink in there and have a place to go. So it's just like just a regular kind of embellishment, really, on the side. Only instead of it being something fancy like a bicone or something, it's just another 11. Delica or treasure, whichever you prefer. There we go. So there's a few. There's 3 white beads. They're like a chalk white. And slideshow time. Alright, that's where I was. That's where I was. That's where I was. Do 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 do. Okay, so I've gone all the way around adding the white beads. So now you can see the white ones are sticking out over the pink a bit. And that's okay. And I'm stepping up, although it's kind of more of a stepping out in this case. And I'm going to add some silver-lined pink treasures, just to fill in those gaps and kind of smooth out that line. And it added a nice silver-lined element to the cab. I thought it worked out nicely. So, here we are. I'm going through everywhere and stopping and doing half hitch knots, which is like that. I'll show you again here. Slide through some beads. It doesn't matter how many. Like that. And then go up under the other threads and catch that loop that you've just made and pass through it once or twice. Doesn't really matter. If you do it enough times, you'll be secure. And in my case, I did it until I ran out of thread. You'll see how I added the beaded bail. That's on the right side of the screen right now. You can't really see it. It's a little loop of 15s. You'll see how I did that in the photos that are coming up soon. There, so I just go through all the beads until I just can't. The thread is just too short. And I just cannot do it anymore. It adds a nice amount of structure, especially those size 8 beads. They're heavier than the others, obviously, so it's good to pass through them a few times just so that they're not wanting to pull away from the weave and wreck everything on you. And you just go through, go through, go through, go through. And I'm going to bury the tail, and I'm going to bury the other tail that's at the beginning of this weave that I'm pinching there in my fingers. I will bury that as well. You don't need to see me do that though. Adding a bail. Okay, so I've got 10 15-0s on my needle, and they're the same 15s I used for the inner portion of the bezel, so it'll match. And I went through 2 of the 8s that are at the top center of the cab, and then I went I just did a loop. Oh yeah, sleepy Sophia. She's so sleepy. Okay, so that's all you need to know, really. I added a pinch bail there and a length of silver plated ball chain for the necklace. And I think it's really, really fun. I think I'm going to keep this one for myself, maybe. I haven't decided, but I might, because it says keep calm and jewel on. It's so cute. And I like the black and the pink. It's that old color combo. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do like and subscribe and share. Follow me on Facebook and all those other social things. And I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye!